Aaron stood outside Jimmy's luxurious penthouse apartment, his heart racing with anticipation and a hint of fear. He had thought about this moment for weeks, weighing the risks and benefits. He was confident that he wanted to take the risk, but a part of him still hesitated. As he entered the apartment, he was struck by the sleek modern decor. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the city, but Aaron's gaze was drawn to Jimmy, who stood by the window, his eyes fixed on him. "Hey, Aaron," Jimmy said, his voice low and smooth. "Thanks for coming." Aaron nodded, feeling a sense of nervousness. He couldn't help but think about their recent encounter, where he had pushed Jimmy to the floor and almost punched him. It felt weird coming back here, but something about Jimmy's calm demeanor put him at ease. Jimmy gestured to a small table, where 2 glasses and a bottle of wine sat. "I thought we could have a drink before we begin," he said, his eyes locked on Aaron's. Aaron hesitated, unsure if he wanted to drink, but Jimmy's warm smile put him at ease. He sat down, his eyes fixed on the glass as Jimmy poured him a drink and one for himself. "So, Aaron," Jimmy said, his voice low and husky. "Are you sure you're ready for this? I don't want to force you." Aaron took a sip of his wine, feeling the liquid courage spreading through his veins. "I'm sure," he said, his voice firm. Jimmy's smile grew wider, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "I will take care of you, Jessica," he promised. "I will treat you kindly and make sure you feel like the queen you are." Aaron's mind flashed back to their college days, when Jimmy had treated him like a queen, buying him gifts and showering him with attention. He felt a strange sense of comfort wash over him, as if he had finally come home. But why did he feel this way? He is a man, he shouldn't do this, not after everything that had happened in the past. Yet, as he looked into Jimmy's eyes, he felt a sense of peace settle over him. Maybe it was the wine, or maybe it was something more. Whatever it was, Aaron knew he was ready to take this journey with Jimmy again just for a night. Hoping he could control himself and come back as Aaron after this date, he thought about Emily and the $500,000 that could change their lives. He wanted to win her over, to prove himself worthy of her love. Aaron asked Jimmy for the miracle liquid drug that would transform him. Jimmy handed him a small bottle of Elysium. "Remember, this is advanced. Although temporary, it'll bring out the whole woman in you." Aaron laughed, confident in his masculinity. "I can handle it, it's just for 12 hours. Aaron stepped into nearby washroom, the small bottle of Elysium clutched in his hand. He locked the door behind him, his heart racing with anticipation and a hint of fear. As he took the drug, he felt a sudden surge of emotions, his body beginning to shift and change, and he sat down on floor leaning against wall as if he knew how transformation is like. Minutes passed, and Aaron's transformation into Jessica was complete. She stood up and looked herself in the mirror, her eyes widening as she took in her reflection. Little tears fell from her eyes as she gazed at herself, the familiar contours of her face now softer, more feminine. Jessica's gaze fell upon her clothes, the wet men's garments clinging to her body. She felt a pang of ugliness, but her eyes soon landed on a stunning red party dress, beautifully laid out on the counter. Makeup and hairstyling products from her favorite brands accompanied it, as if Jimmy had known exactly what she needed. She assumed it's probably because of their time in college. A small smile played on Jessica's lips as she reached for the dress, the soft fabric caressing her skin. She began to transform herself, the makeup and hair products working magic on her appearance. As she finished, Jessica stepped back, her eyes shining with tears. She looked beautiful, the red dress hugging her curves in all the right places. Her blonde hair cascaded down her shoulders, and her makeup highlighted her delicate features. "Wow," she breathed, a sense of wonder filling her. She felt like herself again, like Jessica was finally back. With a newfound sense of confidence, Jessica opened the bathroom door. Emerging from the bathroom, Jimmy's eyes widened in stunned silence, his gaze frozen on her transformed figure. It was as if time had stood still, and he was transported back to a bygone era, when Jessica's radiant beauty had captivated him. His eyes roamed over her curves, drinking in the sight of her slender neck, her delicate shoulders, and the gentle swell of her breasts. Her red dress hugged her body in all the right places, accentuating her tiny waist and flared hips. Jessica's blonde hair cascaded down her back like a golden waterfall. Jimmy's lips parted, his breath catching in his throat as he struggled to find words to describe her loveliness. Jimmy was amazed and stopped breathing for a moment. He felt overwhelmed by her beauty. He had never forgotten how beautiful she was, but now he saw that his memory wasn't as good as the real thing. Jessica approached Jimmy with a newfound confidence, her heart racing like a drum. For a moment, she hesitated, her eyes locking onto Jimmy's, and she felt the familiar flutter in her chest. But she quickly pushed it aside, reminding herself of the $500,000 and the freedom it would bring. Jimmy's eyes widened in awe as he took in her breathtaking beauty, his gaze roaming over her curves like a caress. Jessica's pulse quickened, her skin tingling with awareness, but she resisted the spark, convincing herself it was just a natural response. She just wants the night to get over so she can go back to being Erin. Jessica reached out and grabbed Jimmy's arm, a familiar gesture from their past Jimmy remembered. "Let's go," she said, her voice has turned feminine now. She pulled him towards the door to go outside into the world. Jimmy smiled as he and Jessica got into his Rolls-Royce. The engine started with a quiet hum, and the car began to move smoothly. He had always had a thing for luxury, and this car was one of his pride and joy. In college, Jimmy was the king of the campus. He would show off his fancy cars, flaunt his wealth, and date the most beautiful girls. But it was all a facade, a distraction from the emptiness he felt inside until he met Jessica. As he glanced over at Jessica sitting in the car, he couldn't help but smile at the memory of their first meeting. It was at a cosplay party, where Erin had dressed up as Jessica Valentine from the Evilness game series as a joke. Jimmy had been immediately drawn to the sleek, dark blue dress that hugged Erin's slim body in all the right places. He had no idea it was a guy under the wig and makeup, and he struck up a conversation with the girl as he had no problem because of his charismatic personality who shared his passion for gaming. As they talked for hours, Jimmy found himself falling for the charming and witty Jessica, unaware of the joke that Erin was playing on him. He couldn't take his eyes off Erin's curves, and he couldn't believe how much he wanted to kiss her. "I never knew Jessica Valentine could be so beautiful," Jimmy said, his voice husky with emotion. Erin laughed, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I'm glad you like it," he said, his voice dripping with sweetness. As the night wore on, they found themselves lost in conversation. Jimmy shared personal things about she life as he felt comfortable with this mysterious girl, their bodies inches apart. At last Jimmy couldn't resist the urge to reach out and touch Erin's face, his fingers tracing the contours of his cheekbones. As they stood outside the party, the cool night air swirling around them, Jimmy's eyes locked onto Erin's, his heart racing with excitement. He couldn't believe what's happening. Erin, still dressed as Jessica Valentine, felt a surge of fear as Jimmy approached him. He was confused as to why he was frozen, and the thought of kissing a guy, especially one as popular as Jimmy, made his heart skip a beat. But as Jimmy's lips drew closer, Erin's fear gave way to surrender. He couldn't resist the pull of Jimmy's gaze, the gentle touch of his fingers on his cheek. Their lips met in a soft, tentative kiss, Erin's heart racing with excitement and fear. He didn't know what to do, but he couldn't pull away. Jimmy's lips were gentle, coaxing, and Erin felt himself melting into the kiss. He couldn't believe this moment. Erin's eyes darted around, fearful of being seen. The kiss became deeper, Erin's fear giving way to passion. But Erin pulled away, his heart racing with fear. I'm a guy, dude, he said, ripping off his wig and revealing his true identity. Jimmy's face turned bright red with surprise and embarrassment, but Aaron just turned and ran, leaving Jimmy wondering if he'd ever see his mysterious girl again. After the party, in the college, Jimmy acted like nothing had happened. He'd pass Aaron in the corridors, flashing his famous smile, and say, "Hey, what's up, man," like they were old buddies. Aaron was confused, but he couldn't deny the spark he felt whenever Jimmy was near. Despite the awkwardness, they started hanging out, and to Aaron's surprise, they became friends. Jimmy would invite him to parties, and introduce him to all his friends, and they would stay up late, talking about everything and nothing. Aaron couldn't believe how much he enjoyed Jimmy's company. One day, Jimmy asked Aaron if he wanted to be roommates. Aaron was very hesitant, but Jimmy convinced him it would be a blast. "I want to experience college life like a normal guy," Jimmy said, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "No more fancy cars and fake friends. I want to be real, you know." He even offered to pay both of their hostel bills. Aaron couldn't resist Jimmy's convincing skills, and they moved in together. As roommates, they had the best times, playing video games, watching movies, and exploring the campus. They fell into a comfortable routine. Jimmy would cook up a storm in the kitchen, and Aaron would be his trusty taste tester. They'd stay up late, talking about everything from sports to music. One night, as they were gaming, Jimmy tossed a controller at Aaron. "You're such a noob, man." Aaron laughed and threw the controller back. "Hey, I'm just getting started." Their banter was easy, their friendship growing stronger with each passing day, but beneath the surface, Aaron couldn't shake off the feeling that Jimmy was more than just a friend. He'd catch Jimmy looking at him, a soft expression on his face, and Aaron's heart would skip a beat. Jimmy, too, felt a flutter in his chest whenever Aaron was near. But he pushed it aside, focusing on their friendship instead. As the semester wore on, their bond deepened. They became inseparable, a package deal on campus. But the tension between them grew, a slow-burning fire that neither dared to acknowledge. During their last year of college, Jimmy took Aaron to his brother's laboratory, a cutting-edge biotech startup owned by his brother, Alex. As they walked in, Aaron's eyes widened in awe. "This is like something out of a sci-fi movie." Jimmy smiled.
"Yeah,
"My brother's company is working on some revolutionary stuff. He's allowed me to bring you here today because he trusts me, and I promise to keep everything confidential." They met Regina, a senior researcher, and her assistant, Sophia. Aaron's eyes locked onto Sophia's striking features and fit physique. He couldn't help but stare. Sophia caught Aaron's gaze and raised an eyebrow. "Can I help you with something?" Aaron quickly looked away, his face flushing. No, just admiring the lab equipment." Regina smiled warmly. "Well, let's show you what we're working on. Follow me." She led them to a lab room where they were developing a classified liquid drug called Elysium. Regina explained that it used advanced biotechnology and nanotechnology to transform the human body. Jimmy's eyes lit up with curiosity. "Fascinating. Can you tell me more about the nanobot's ability to modify genetic markers?" Regina nodded. "Yes, they can rewrite the genetic code to change hormone balance, metabolism, and cellular structure." Jimmy asked, "And, hypothetically, could this technology be used to, say, alter sex characteristics?" Regina's expression turned cautious. "Well, that's a complex question. Let's just say sometimes answers we seek are right in front of us." Regina and Jimmy stepped aside, leaving Aaron alone with Sophia for a moment. Aaron, oblivious to the scientific discussion, turned to Sophia and whispered, "What's going on? What's this drug do?" Sophia smiled and whispered back, don't worry, it's complicated. Just enjoy the tour. As they continued, Jimmy's eyes met Sophia's, and he smiled knowingly. Aaron remained clueless, but intrigued by Sophia's mysterious smile. Later that night, Jimmy and Aaron were gaming and drinking in their dorm room. They were laughing and joking around, having a great time. As they took a break from gaming, they both leaned back into the couch, relaxing their tired muscles. As they sat there, Jimmy slowly let his hand fall onto the couch cushion, his fingers extending. Aaron, still looking at the screen, didn't notice Jimmy's hand creeping closer. Jimmy's fingers brushed against Aaron's hand, sending a spark of electricity through both of them. But Jimmy didn't pull away. Instead, he let his hand linger, his fingers grazing Aaron's. Aaron's eyes snapped towards Jimmy, his face flushing. "Dude, what?" he started to say, his voice trailing off as he met Jimmy's gaze. Jimmy's eyes locked onto Aaron's, a mix of surprise and curiosity on his face. "Sorry, man. I don't know what I was thinking." Aaron felt weird. Jimmy's eyes welled up with tears, and Aaron asked, "What's wrong, man?" Jimmy hesitated, then said, "Nothing, it's just, I don't know what's happened to me." "Can I be honest with you?" Aaron nodded. "Sure, man. We're buddies, you can tell me anything." Jimmy took a deep breath. "Since I met you, I've changed. I'm not the same person I used to be. I used to be this carefree guy who partied and had fun with girls, but after that night, after meeting you, I don't know, man. I feel different." Jimmy held back tears, his voice cracking. "Since I saw you in that form and shared my story with you, about my mom leaving, and I never shared this with anyone, but I want to meet her again and share my feelings with her. I never met someone who understood me like she did, even in silence she listened to me and cared. But it turned out, it was you." Aaron's eyes widened in surprise. "It was me." Jimmy nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't know I was struggling inside, but you understood me. Thanks for being here for me, man. You're making me a better person." Aaron smiled, feeling a deep connection with Jimmy. "I'm glad I could help, and I have to say, you've been kind to me too. I was struggling to afford college, but since you became my roommate, life has been kinder, and that doesn't mean I want to exploit you or anything, it's just my family isn't rich, but—" Jimmy interrupted, "Money's never been an issue for me. I'm just glad to be with you. You're making me a better person." Aaron's eyes sparkled with an idea. "I want to give you back a favor, Jimmy. I'll turn into Jessica for you tonight." As soon as the words left Aaron's mouth, he regretted them. What was he thinking? He didn't know why he offered that, but now he felt like he had to follow through. Jimmy's eyes were shining with excitement, and Aaron felt a pang of anxiety. He didn't know how to explain that he was just trying to be kind, that he didn't actually mean it. "Dude, really?" Jimmy asked, his voice full of hope. Aaron hesitated, trying to think of a way to back out. But Jimmy's face was so full of expectation that he couldn't bring himself to disappoint him.
"Yeah,
"Man, I'll do it," Aaron said, feeling a sense of trepidation. Jimmy grinned, and Aaron felt like he'd just made a huge mistake. What had he gotten himself into? Jimmy headed out for a walk, giving Aaron the privacy he needed to change. Aaron had done this before, a few months ago at a cosplay party, where he dressed up as a woman and surprised everyone with his convincing look. As he began to transform, Aaron remembered why he had all the necessary items. He had bought them for the cosplay party, wanting to create a realistic female character. The silicone inserts, the bras, the skirts, everything was still neatly stored in his closet. Aaron began his transformation, starting with the bra. He carefully fastened the straps, feeling the soft fabric hug his chest. Next, he slipped on the silicone inserts, creating a gentle, feminine curve. He adjusted them, making sure they were comfortable and natural looking. He then put on a black tank top, revealing his toned belly. The fabric clung to his skin, accentuating his muscles. Aaron added a short red short skirt, feeling the soft material brush against his thighs. He paired it with a pair of heels, his feet arching slightly as he stood. As he applied his makeup, Aaron's eyes sparkled with excitement. He defined his eyebrows, added a touch of blush, and finished with a bold, red lip color. He styled his hair, creating soft, flowing waves. Finally, he gazed at his reflection. He felt a surge of admiration. He looked beautiful, the makeup and clothes transforming him into a stunning woman. But as he gazed deeper, his eyes began to nitpick. His brow bone was still a bit prominent, his jawline too angular. He could see the faintest hint of stubble on his chin, and his ears seemed too small. Aaron's confidence began to falter. How could he pass so easily as a woman when he still looked so masculine? He felt a wave of insecurity wash over him, wondering if he was fooling himself. He scrutinized his face, searching for flaws. But then he remembered Jimmy's words, "You're stunning, Aaron." He had meant it, Aaron was sure of it. So why couldn't he see it himself? Aaron took a deep breath, trying to shake off the doubts. He looked again at his reflection, this time focusing on the beauty, not the flaws. He smiled, feeling a glimmer of confidence return. When Jimmy returned, Aaron opened the door shyly, revealing his new look. Jimmy's eyes widened in surprise, and he hesitated, unsure how to react. "Whoa, Aaron, you." Jimmy stuttered, taking a step back. Aaron's face fell, worried he'd made a mistake. But then Jimmy's expression changed, his eyes locking onto Aaron's with a newfound appreciation. "Wait, you look amazing," Jimmy said, his voice filled with wonder. Aaron's face lit up with a smile, relieved and thrilled. "Thanks, Jimmy. I was hoping you'd like it." Jimmy took a step closer, his eyes roving over Aaron's transformation. "I'm more than like it, Aaron. You are looking more stunning than the night I met you." As Jimmy's gaze lingered, Aaron felt a flutter in his chest. He couldn't believe Jimmy was actually admiring him like this. Jessica and Jimmy sat together on the couch. Jessica started scrolling through her phone in silence, trying to avoid her shyness. Jimmy couldn't help but sneak glances at Jessica, who looked stunning in her tank top and short skirt. Her hair was styled perfectly, and her makeup was flawless. As they sat there, Jimmy's mind wandered to the crush he'd had on Aaron since the party. He'd never mustered the courage to tell him, fearing it might ruin their friendship. Aaron, sensing Jimmy's gaze, looked up and caught his eye. "What's up, Jimmy?" he asked, a hint of a smile on his face. Jimmy's heart skipped a beat as he quickly looked away, trying to play it cool. "Just, checking out your selfies," he stammered. Aaron chuckled and went back to scrolling through his phone. Jimmy couldn't help but sneak another glance, his heart racing with excitement. As the silence between them grew, Jimmy's nervousness got the better of him. He reached out and playfully nudged Aaron's arm. "Now what?" Aaron asked, looking at Jimmy with a hint of uncertainty. "I think I should change back." But Jimmy's hands shot out, grasping Aaron's wrists. "No, Aaron," he said, his voice laced with panic. "Please don't." Aaron's concern deepened. "Are you okay, man?" he asked, trying to calm him down. Jimmy's eyes locked onto his, filled with a desperate longing. "Aaron, I know this is awkward, but I love you," he said. The room fell silent, with Aaron's thoughts racing wildly. He looked into Jimmy's eyes, seeing the yearning and desperation there. Jessica sighed, calming down, and gave a soft smile. She has to say it now, I have feelings for you too, man, she admitted. I've been trying to talk myself out of these feelings for a while now, but, me being a man, it's not right. I wish I was a woman. I would have kissed you, held you, and been your boyfriend. Those girls you date seem so happy, but I'm a man. I have responsibilities, a career to think about, a job soon, and a family to take care of in the future. It's just too much. I wish life was the way I want it. Jimmy's face lit up with a hopeful smile. What if I told you that you could become a woman, maybe just for tonight? He asked, his voice filled with excitement. Aaron's confusion was evident. Jimmy, it's not possible, he said, shaking his head. But Jimmy pulled out a small green bottle from his college bag. Remember Elysium? I've been monitoring its progress, and I have some amazing news. The drug was recently tested on many male human subjects, and the results were astonishing. It was found to be highly effective in physically transforming them into women, everything, but the effects reverse after 12 hours. Aaron's eyes widened in shock. Why would they perform tests on men? Jimmy shrugged. I don't know, but Regina was heading the tests and assured me it's 100% safe. The tests were conducted with great success, and I have the data right here. Aaron's skepticism was clear. So you want me to take this? Are you out of your mind? But Jimmy's enthusiasm was undeterred. He reminded Aaron about Regina's lab assistant, Sophia, who was physically a man but identified as trans. You know her, Aaron. She's Mark from our class. Aaron's eyes widened in shock. What? No way. I had no idea. Jimmy nodded. Yes, it's true. And that's why she was smiling at you in lab. She's been working with Regina in exchange for doses as she is not interested in trans surgeries, and she's been helping me monitor the progress. Aaron's mind reeled as he thought back to when they were in the lab. He had no idea that Sophia was actually Mark, and that she had been watching him with a knowing smile. Mark was that quirky kid in his class, and Aaron had intuitively sensed that he was trans. Aaron was one of the few who had been kind to him and befriended him. He's a quiet kid, but really helpful. Aaron's mind protested that he wasn't trans, and it was all just confusion, warning him of the risks. But his heart whispered, this is it. Take the leap, at least you will know if you actually want it. With trembling hands, he held the Elysium. His mind racing, he thought of the what-ifs. But his heart urged him on, what if this is who you're meant to be? He took a deep breath, silenced his doubts, and downed the Elysium. Fuck it, man. Elysium has entered into his system. Without another thought, Aaron also downed the entire bottle of beer, dropping some on his tank top. Jimmy, if I die, send some money to my family and tell them I'm sorry. Jimmy smiled knowingly, and Aaron fell onto the couch, thinking it was just the beer. But soon, Elysium took hold. Aaron felt a warm, tingling sensation spreading through his body, like a gentle buzz. His skin prickled with goosebumps, like a soft caress. His muscles relaxed, feeling sweet and calm, like a warm bath. His bones felt like they were being gently reshaped, his joints softly adjusting, like a puzzle fitting together. His face softened, his features melting and reforming, like clay being molded. His hair grew, flowing down his back like a silky waterfall, each strand tickling his skin with a gentle thrill. His chest started to become softer and rounder. His breasts grew and became more sensitive. The skin around them became smooth and delicate. At the same time, his buttocks changed shape. They became softer and more curved, like they were being molded into a new form. The muscles relaxed and the fat spread out, creating a smooth and rounded shape. He felt his new curves and sensitive areas. The transformation was like a flower opening up. Aaron felt a strange sensation in his groin. His penis shrank and pulled back into his body. The skin around his genitals smoothed out and became flat. Aaron felt his body changing. His cells and tissue were transforming. His testicles disappeared and Aaron's body formed a vagina, his masculine energy blended with his feminine energy. Aaron's vision blurred and distorted. Everything went dark, like a veil of blackness descending. Then, light and color burst forth. Jessica's eyes fluttered open. Her gaze blurry from the intense transformation she had just undergone. She lay on the couch, her body drenched in sweat and water, the cushions beneath her soaked through. As she struggled to sit up, a wave of dizziness washed over her, forcing her back onto the couch. Her hand instinctively went to her forehead, and she felt different. Her face was softer, her features more delicate. Jimmy's voice cut through the haze. "Aaron? Aaron, can you hear me?" Aaron's eyes focused on Jimmy's worried face, and she tried to speak, but her voice was barely a whisper. What happened?" Jimmy's expression softened, and he helped Jessica sit up, gently. "You transformed, Aaron. You're Jessica now." Jessica ran to the bathroom, her heart beating fast. She looked in the mirror and couldn't believe her eyes. She was beautiful. Her skin was smooth, her body was curvy, and her lips were full. Her concerns like prominent brow bone was now smooth, her jawline was softer. Jimmy burst in, his face etched with concern. "Jessica, are you okay?" She turned to him, her eyes shining like stars. "Thank you, Jimmy. You've made me whole." Jimmy's face softened, and Jessica's arms encircled his waist, pulling him close. She felt safe, protected, and cherished in his embrace. Her head nestled against his chest, and she whispered, "You don't understand." They moved closer, feeling a strong connection. Jessica's voice was soft and husky. "Kiss me," she said. Jimmy's lips touched hers, and their hearts beat fast. They felt like they were the only two people in the world. They were lost in their new love for each other. Jimmy was electrified by the transformation in Jessica. She garbs him with a fierce passion, pulling him to the bed with an unstoppable force. Her eyes blazed like wildfire, burning with a hunger that couldn't be contained. She tore off her top, with reckless abandon, revealing a beauty that left Jimmy breathless. Her movements were like a wildcat unleashed, fierce and untamed. Jimmy was consumed by her intensity, feeling like he was drowning in a sea of desire. Jessica's kisses ravaged his skin, her hands grasping his with a possessive ferocity. Jessica and Jimmy fell onto the bed, their bodies close. Jessica's lips moved hard against Jimmy's, her tongue making his heart race. Jimmy's hands touched her skin, feeling her curves. Every touch made them want more. She starts kissing his chest, belly and holding his hands with both of hers, and she proceeds to unzip his jeans. "You might think I don't know how to please a man like you, like all your useless college girls. I'll show you what I can do," Jessica announced. The night became wild and full of wonders. They weren't concerned about future or past. Jimmy's eyes snapped back to the present. He was in the back seat of his car, with Jessica beside him. She was no longer the wild girl he once knew, but a mature woman or mature men. He reached for her hand, but she pulled it away, looking uncomfortable. Jimmy's heart sank. Had he lost her forever? He remembered Regina's words when he met her after college when she revealed latest finding of the Elysium test. The test subjects who tried Elysium again, after initially using it, failed to achieve the same results again. Their bodies started to reject the drug, as if it sensed their ambivalence. But for trans women who genuinely desired to transition, Elysium worked repeatedly. Jimmy knew the truth, but did Jessica? He looked at her, and her concerned expression told him she was still searching for answers. Jimmy's only hope was that their date would go well, and maybe, just maybe, he could help her find her way again. But if not, he vowed to leave her alone, no matter how much it hurt. Jimmy's phone jolted him out of his thoughts. He answered, and his brother's panicked voice shot through the line. "Jimmy, it's Dan." "Oh God, I don't have much time, Regina's behind everything." The connection crackled, with muffled sounds of chaos in the background. "Dan, what's happening?" Jimmy's heart raced. "I'm on the plane, it's going down, Jimmy." "She will be coming for you, brother, oh God." The line went fuzzy, with screams and alarms blaring. "Dan, no. Hold on." But the voice was gone, replaced by an eerie silence. The call dropped, leaving Jimmy with a chilling sense of dread. Jessica's concerned voice pierced the darkness. "Jimmy, what's wrong?" Jimmy's eyes locked onto hers, his mind racing. "My brother, his plane is crashing, and Regina." He couldn't finish the sentence, his voice choked with fear.